here at UCF in Orlando, Florida. Don't tell our former president it's a day of paradise, though, because I know he inherited a really bad situation, so I'm sorry that happened to him. Okay, so that was actually bad news. Poor guy. He's like probably the scapegoat. All right. Anyway, I'm going to do a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to do is talk about your homework where you lost 3 points, 4 points, 5. Because you guys lose like little points here and there. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'll get with Tim tomorrow and Thursday and come up with a resolution. I like to be fair. And so I'll go ahead and figure out what to do about that. So if you guys will just give me a couple of days on that, I promise I will be fair to you in every way I possibly can. So, let's have some fun. In CB1, room 104, we're going to have some fun. All right, what's the output of the following code? This should be pretty easy, right? Okay, what's the output of that following code? Data sub 0 equals 1, data sub 1 equals 15, data sub 2 equals 7, data sub 3 equals 44. So we're going to print out percent D, data sub 1, data sub 3. So we should see what? 15 and 44, right? That better be the answer. 15 and 44. And we're going to continue with arrays today, of course. All right, almost perfect. Okay. What's wrong with the following code? You got to be really careful on this one. This is one of those array problems that I will tell you right now that arrays have been the bane of some programmers since the beginning of time. So this kind of illustrates one of the problems with arrays. What do you see? Data sub 1, data sub 2, data sub 3, data sub 12 is fine to me, right? 4 is not available. 4 exceeds the bounds of the array. This array should be numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Because 0 means we're starting from at a 0 offset, right? The first one, I know you think it should be numbered 1, but it's a 0 offset because it's 0 from the beginning, okay? So the problem here is accessing data sub 4 is outside the bounds of the array. In this case, you could have unpredictable results. You could, actually nothing could happen and your program would act normally, or your program could crash, or your program could format your hard drive. No, just kidding. But so when you're doing something like this, you get unexpected results. So there. All right, what's wrong with that code? Take a look. First, look at the function, and then look at the actual code in main. Okay, so we have function 1. Oh, damn, that should say function 1 down there. Ignore that function misspelling. Did I just lose 3 points on that?
You lost 8.
I lost 8. Son of a biscuit eater. Okay, it should say function 1. All right, so is there anything wrong with function 1 itself? You can't return if it's marked void, right? So that's problem 1. Do you see anything wrong where it's called? There's only one parameter and it's expecting 2 parameters, right? So there are actually 2 mistakes in this. So on your test, if you had a problem like this on your test, you would have to circle them both, right? So some of the test questions can have more than one answer, or some can have 0 answers. Okay. This little taco pencil holder has been up here for like 3 weeks, so why don't you come up here and get it? What now?
All right, it's mine.
It's got lots of pens. You can get lots of stuff. Okay, what's the output of the following? Now, this was a little bit harder because it's got this function. So let me go ahead and make a chart. We just need A and B because I didn't even ask you for I at the end. Oh, good. Oh, damn. something? I know. So the initial values, I starts at 0, B starts at 5, B starts at 7. We go. How many times do we go through this? We go through it 3 times. When I is 0, and I is 1, and I is 2, right? We go through this 3 times, correct? So we almost don't care what the value of I is. We just need to make sure we know we go through this 3 times, okay? I think I'm off the radar here. I've been told that before. Okay, so the first time, A equals calc AB. So what is calc AB going to do? Calc AB is going to say, A first is 5 times 2 plus 7 divided by 2. Isn't that the first one it's going to do? 5 times 2 is 10. In integer math, 7 divided by 2 is going to be what? 3. So that's 13 this first time through. Did I do that correctly? So now A is going to be 13. But on the very next line, B is going to equal calc BA. So BA is B, let's see, in this case B is 7, so 7 times 2 plus, now A is not 5, but A is 13, correct? So 13 divided by 2, this is 14, plus 13 divided by 2 in integer math is what? 6, that's correct. So now B is going to be 20, and A is going to be 13. Did I do that right? So that's the first time through. All right, questions so far? Okay, this is kind of the type of stuff I might put on the test, since the next test covers functions. Okay, next time through, get another piece of paper so I can do calculations. Okay. So now we're going to say A equals. Can you see that there? A equals calc AB. A is 13, so 13 times 2 plus 20 divided by 2 equals 26 plus 10. Is that right? Equals 36. Is that correct? You guys have got to catch my mistakes if I make them. I do occasionally make them. So that's 36. Now the next one is going to be 20 times 2 plus 36 divided by 2 equals 40 plus 18. Is that right? 58. So far so good? Ooh, it's so good to be right. Okay, last time through. So we got, this is A and that's B. So 36 times 2 plus 58, is that 58? Yeah, 58 divided by 2 equals 72 plus, is this 29? So that's 81, 91. Is that 101? Is that correct? 101. Last one we got to do is B. B is going to be 58 times 2 plus 101 divided by 2. So this is 116 plus, what is 101 divided by 2 in integer math? 50. 166. I sure as heck hope that answer is up there somewhere. It's actually really easy to make simple arithmetic mistakes. So that up there, it looks like it's okay. Let's see about that. You guys just wait until I figure out the answer right. Okay, good. Let's see if we have any residual residual questions. Previously, our random number generators have been connected to time. How do we get to random? So, is this from last week?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you anyway, just because I'm so nice. Int num1 equals rand 20 plus 1. Int num2 rand mod 20 plus 1. That's all you have to do. All you do is, as long as you need random numbers, you just call rand. Calling rand. Remember I told you on Thursday just to see the random number generator one time? For showing the score, how do you save the values from the gauge? You have to add it to the score variable. Is it okay to explain what a prototype is versus a function? Sure. We got code blocks here, real quick. So, what we've been doing all along is we've been putting our functions up here. Right. And then from here we just say second. Right? Or say I. Right. So this is a function. You should easily know what a function is. But then we said you can actually put this below main like this, but above main you still need what's called a prototype. A prototype is just a template. Okay? So that's a template. Which is, now if you have parameters, you have parameters in there. If you have a return value, you have a return. So really, essentially, the prototype or the template is just the first line of the function. I just did a copy and paste. So that's the difference between a prototype and a function. When is, oh, go on. I'm sorry, I forgot you. Go ahead.
Yeah, everyone hear me? So, essentially, oh, I have a question. You all already know about SI and how it works. Raise your hand if you know about SI. There's still some hands that are not raised. But SI essentially is all about you, right? You all get to decide on the topic of each session, and thanks to that, it will pretty much focus on what your week is on, right? And everyone gets to engage in groups together. They all get to pitch in each session and get their word out. And so there's already sessions on web courses, and you all can check the announcement page so you can know what the times are. But as for the exam, you specifically, like holding for exam 2, it's going to be next week, Monday, right? That's the 25th of February. I'm going to mark on the board. I'm also going to mark the hour and the group. It's going to be on the 25th of February.
And while he's doing that, Tim has office hours Tuesday, Thursday at 4:30 and HEC 308. I would definitely suggest getting over to Tim. And aren't there SARC hours also on the website?
I'm not sure if it is specified to us, but it's best to check the UCF-SI
Yeah.
page. Or Google just type UCF-SI. It should be the first one.
Yeah. So you might be able to get some tutoring at SARC. And I'm doing a session on Wednesday of next week at 7:30. That was the best I could do as far as getting a room and all that kind of stuff. You know they've had trouble with. I think they do that to me on purpose. They don't like send me a note that I've been approved for a room, and then we have to scramble. So anyway, while he's writing that, I'm going to go ahead and answer more questions. Is there a particular reason why the homework was so difficult? That's because I'm really mean.
Yes.
Are we?
I don't know, are we?
So the one global variable I allowed you to use was score, and that's fine.
And one quick thing, so whoever asked about that, I really appreciate it. Whoever put that as something, thank you very much.
Okay. What is the base case? Base case is for the recursion. I'll do another recursion example with you today, and we'll talk about base case. A base case is the very first thing in the function that makes sure you don't keep going and going and going and going, because then your program will crash. Why do we have something .c and something .h. So C is the actual code file, and .h is the actual prototype file. And we separate those just because that's the way it's done in C, so we can just include the .h and have our code in the .c. It takes a while to kind of get that, so it's kind of like, do I use a while or do a while? You'll understand. I couldn't do that. I'm really disorganized, you know, so they fire me in about 3 hours, I think. What is a double? A double is a floating point number that's actually twice as big as a float, so a double can hold larger numbers than a float. Is there a benefit putting functions below main? Not really. Just to keep, really the best thing you can do is put all your functions in other files. That's the best way to organize your program, is put stuff in other files. So, what is the get choice function that we need to use for? I have answered that so many times. If you two functions require that you fill all parameters with yeah. So, when you get to C++, there are these things called default parameters that you can use, and for other languages it's not necessary. Why was I equal to 0 in the second iteration? It actually wasn't. I'm sorry. This is actually the first iteration. These were the initial values: first iteration, second iteration, third iteration. So it started as a 0 just because through that thing it just stayed at 0. Okay, good. Let me go ahead and get started on arrays today, and because I gotta make sure. By the way, on that homework, do you know where I got that homework from? No, I stole it from Arup. So Arup is giving really hard.
What's the get choice function?
No, I got it from Arup. Just imagine if you had taken Arup for this class, every assignment would be that hard. So I stole that from Arup. Anyway, which is fine. I only steal from the best. All right. So now we're going to talk about arrays again. And arrays always have a type, right? We can have an integer array, a short array, a double array, a float array, a blah, blah, blah. You can actually make up your own types and have arrays of your own types. Oh, damnation! Did I say that word? Son of a... You know what? Actually, I say that all the time in class. I haven't gotten fired yet. So you've always got to have a type here. In this case, my type is integer, okay? But here again, it could be integer. When we do data structures, it could be maybe an array of data structures, it could be an array of classes, when we do object-oriented. So you got to have some sort of type. Then you got to have some sort of an identifier or a variable name, right? This is right there. That's nothing new, right? That's exactly what we've been working on this whole entire semester. Okay? But the only thing different for an array is that now we have a size because we have this contiguous block of that integer type. So we have, and they're all in memory all in a row. So it goes the 0th, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th. So we have this block of 8 contiguous we have this block of 8 contiguous. Doesn't that sound like someone took their fingers and scratched them forward? Remember those? I have no idea what I go with my pen. Let's see if I can recover here. This green pen debacle. So this is the 0 index. This is the 1 index, the 2 index, the 3 index, the 4 index, 5, 6, and 7. Notice that if we use the 8th index, we're outside the bounds of array. See, that's what that means. If we start 0 through 7, it's fine. That gives us 8 values. But notice when we go to 8, we're outside the array. You guys with me on that? And that will cause you problems because you don't know what you're going to overwrite. You might overwrite something that doesn't matter. You might overwrite, say, a return value. You might overwrite some sort of special data structure. So this is something you have to avoid at all costs, okay? Do not exceed the bounds of the array. If you do a -1, that's also a very bad thing. So you need to make sure you're enforcing the bounds of the array, or your program is going to crash. Now, you guys have probably heard in the news this thing called buffer overflows or buffer overruns. It's a very big thing in software for how the hackers are able to get into software sometimes. So this is a perfect example of a buffer overflow or buffer overrun. So make sure you don't do this. So now, if I say data sub 4 equals 81, where is data sub 4? Well, it's right here, isn't it? So what is this going to do to the array, the contents of the array? It's going to put 81 right there. I'm sorry, what now? No, it's not the fourth spot of the array. It's the fourth, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but that actually throws a lot of people. Also, let me just give you an aside before you. When we do this, what's in that array to start with? Do we know what's in that array? We don't know. It could be anything. It could be the secret lottery number. Now, we'd hate to get rid of that, right? Data sub 2 equals 22. So we look for the tooth index, and we put 22 in there. Data sub 0 equals 19. 19. I'm purposely going out of order here. Data sub 8 equals 41. Bad. Bad, bad, bad. Okay, you get the idea? Good. All right. Questions? I just want to make sure you understand just the basics of an array. What an array is a contiguous block of memory that you specify a size of, okay? You guys with me on that? And by the way, integers are 4 bytes, aren't they? So how much memory are we actually getting from the operating system for this? We're actually getting 32 bytes, even though, because a single integer takes up 4 bytes of memory. Okay? Now, we said that we can use a loop to address this. And a lot of times we do, in programming, we actually rarely put values directly into, say, sub 4, sub 5, sub 6. It actually gets to be really labor intensive when we do that. So what we normally do is we figure out a way to somehow auto-populate it. Now, before we get too far, there's an 8 here. That makes me nervous. Why would that make me nervous? Because if we do data sub 8, we're hosed, right? Inside of that loop, are we ever going to do data sub 8? We'll do data sub 0 through data sub 7, right? So should that make me nervous? No, it shouldn't. Now, there's an alternative way you can actually do this. This is what most people do. Most people do this, but you can also, alternatively, you can do less than or equal to 7, and it's going to have the same meaning. Both of those are equivalent, are going to give you the same thing, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, right? They're both going to give you the same thing. So, however, the less than 8 is usually the traditional way that people do it. So this is the more traditional way. Let's say data sub I equals 55. That's the speed limit on some roads. Okay? Now if you go ahead and run this thing, oh, it didn't do anything. How come? Oh. Okay. Printf %d data. That is a weird looking answer. Don't you think? Did it add up the numbers? What did it do? So actually we don't get to this for about 3 or 4 witness pointers in about 4 weeks or so. Yeah, it just gave us the address of the array. So that was incorrect. That's not what we want to be doing. We actually learn what that means in about 4 weeks from now. But for right now, this is not going to print out the contents of the array. I'm going to give you a couple of ways we can do it. Okay, this might not be the best way. Do it anyway. Now let me change these indices. See, sometimes you guys have to catch up. I gotta run that guy. Oh. Oh, I forgot freaking comments. Don't do that. Grasshopper. Okay. So that's actually a really lame way to do what I just did, to show all the numbers. Don't you think? Isn't that pretty lame? Wasn't that labor intensive to show all 8 of those data elements? By the way, we call these elements. Usually we say that array element is 55 or 62 or 39 or whatever. Okay. We say that I is the index or the index is 0 or whatever. So can anybody imagine a better way to do this maybe than? Okay. So what do you mean?
Is there a way that you can array one through a certain value?
No, there is in other languages though. Not in C. So someone else had an answer. I think it was this, right? Yeah, we're not going to because we want to be contrarians. Let's hear it for contrarians. And Jeff. %d data sub I. So in this case, I is the index, right? So we'll say I is the index value variable. It'll be 0, then it'll be 1, then it'll be 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, right? It will actually then print the value at each element. Okay, so sub 0 is an element, sub 1 is an element, sub 2 is an element. So it goes through each element and prints it out. And notice I don't have any backslash n's. So let me print out a backslash n when we're done here, because we like to tie things up neatly. So if I run this, see, that's a much better thing about this that bothers me is that they all say 55. So let's go ahead and give it a little variety here, because variety is the spice of life, as they say. Now I want to open it up to questions. Anybody have a question about this? Because see, I got to make sure we get this. Yes, ma'am. We could. I didn't want to do that just to kind of prove a point. I know it would have been easier, right? Right. But us instructors don't always do things the easiest way, just because we want to show you guys. But so sometimes, so here's the thing. Sometimes we put stuff in arrays. We save it for later use. That's actually normally what we do with arrays. Is we'll have data, we populate data in an array, and then we use it maybe later. And probably is a very abstract thing I just said, but eventually. Are you a computer science major? What's your major? You could change your major, you know. Or get a minor or something, right? Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. That's a good question. Any other questions? Okay, very good. In fact, here, like, this might be do a bunch of other stuff here. Right? So So that might need to do a bunch of other stuff. And go ahead and print this out. Could we get the sum? Could we get the sum of all elements in the array? Is there a way to do that? Can we do that? First, we need a sum variable, right? Don't we need a sum variable? Should we initialize it? Should we initialize it?
Yes.
Okay, it's initialized. Is that not right? Let me just test it. Okay. So here we're going to go ahead and get our sum. Sum plus equals data sum I. Okay. So now we got a sum. Printf. The sum is. And run that now. So now we added up the numbers in that list. Okay. Could we find the average of everything in the list? How would we find the average of this list? Sum divided by 8. Okay. Can we say average AVG? Do we need to initialize average? AVG equals sum divided by 8. So did we need to initialize average? No, because we're going to calculate it anyway, right? Because we're calculating average, the sum is %D, and the average is %D. Now we can go ahead and run that, and have great things happening in CV1 104. Now, I'm going to sort of embark on a different direction in a minute, so let's make sure you guys are all good on this. You guys all good on this? Everybody good? Yes, sir.
Can you explain why you have the for loop at the top, say on, sub on, 5, and then 6 to 6 all that, and then go into the for loop?
So why do I have 2 for loops? For this program, you don't need 2 for loops. I'm just doing it as an illustration. So it's totally unnecessary to have 2 for loops. I'm just showing you that you can gather the information in 1 for loop and then do the calculations in another for loop. But I'm going to, in just a minute, I'm just sort of show you a better reason for that. Any other questions? Okay. Now, can I erase this? So is the Discord guy back there? Can you see from that thing back there? Can you see all the code? The Discord recorder?
Yes, you can.
So you guys, has anybody looked at his videos on the Discord? Off of Discord? Can you actually tell what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's a function called calc. int A, int B. Let's say A times equals 2, B plus equals 4. That's like really super easy. Int A, B, right? So first, I'm going to print A equals %D, B equals %D. We've been doing that since like the first week of class. Oh, crap. I didn't need to do that, I'm sorry. I didn't need to have a return type. My bad. So now we call calc A, B. Print the values. What do you expect to happen after we call calc? You expect A and B to change. Really? So if A starts off at 100, 100 times 2 is 200, isn't it? 200 plus 4 is 204, isn't it? So don't you expect those values to change? Well, there's only one way to really test this out. Oh, that's curious. They didn't change. What would be your explanation for why they didn't change? Because those variables are copies, right? They are separate. You see, inside of the function, we didn't send it A and B. We sent it a copy of A and a copy of B. So these are what we call by-value parameters. When you send it, you're sending a copy. You can do anything. You can stand on your head and sing 99 bottles of beer on the wall if you want to. And nothing's going to happen except for nothing, right? So you guys understand that part of that? That's a by-value parameter in, remember that expression, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? Right? Let's extend that saying to whatever happens in the function to a by-value variable parameter stays in that function, okay? It's like whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Whatever happens to a by-value parameter in a function stays in that function, okay? Does that make sense? You can do anything. It will not affect. It will. Hit it to her. Hey, Vern, you hit it to her. You guys ever watch that Vern guy? He is hilarious. He's dead. He's not very funny now. No matter what you do, it's not going to affect it. Why? Because inside of calc, we're acting on a copy and not the actual variable. You guys with me? Okay, you got to get this before we move on. You guys, you got it? Now, let's do something different. Correct, it doesn't return anything. Right, but just because we act on A and B inside the function, the A and B inside of name don't get changed. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, sir. They are local variables, yeah. They're local variables. So A and B up here have that scope, and A and B have down here have that scope. And those, it's kind of like my little brother's bedroom up here and my bedroom here, right? And never the twain shall they meet. That's by design with him. Okay, any other questions? Good questions. Ask them now. These are good. All right, let's totally mess it up here. Void get void show. I'll tell you what we'll even do. Let's go ahead and put this up here. Calc. That way we know what the value in calc is, right? Inside of calc, we have that value. So now I'm a little more clear. Inside of calc, we do have fairly large values, but the first and last are from main, and they remain the same because we don't do anything, okay? So let's go ahead and do something. Let's void find sum. So I'm going to leave what I have there. Int data 4. Oops. let's find the sum of data. And what's the length of data? How many elements do we have? We have four elements, right? Oops, let's say 4. All right. You guys easily understand what I just did there, right? Data sub 0. I just hand assigned it, right? So let's go and find the sum. Now we have a separate function that's going to find the sum. So int I sum equals 0 for I equals 0, I less than plain, I plus plus. Sum plus equals data sub I. Now let's print out the sum. The sum is %D. That's pretty easy to understand. So far, I haven't thrown you for too much of a loop, I don't think. I think this is pretty easy to understand. We got to run it before I start talking too much. Okay. So that function actually went ahead and found the sum. You guys with me so far? Questions? I know you're typing. I got a question last Thursday, I think. How do you expect us to pay attention and type our code at the same time? So it's a special skill in a Lineker class. No, when you pass it, you don't put the brackets. There's a magic thing about arrays, and that's sort of where I'm headed. There's a magic thing about arrays. So, and I don't actually really truly reveal the magic for another 4 weeks, but for right now, you just sort of, you go with it. All right, now what I want to do is create a function that just says show array data. This way we have something. Because what we're going to do is we're going to want to show this. We're going to want to display it. Because we're going to be doing some interesting things. And I'm actually going to give you guys a second to catch up. That's really unusual. Okay. So all that show array data function is just showing whatever's in the array, okay? That's pretty easy to understand. I know that it's hard to keep up with me sometimes. I actually talk a lot faster in my programming languages class, but they're mostly seniors. Have you noticed that, Tim? Don't I talk faster in programming languages? Yeah, I try to squeeze as much out of them as I can. How dare you become a senior here at UCF? Of course, if they close the school. Did you hear that rumor that someone was? Did you hear that rumor? There is no way they'll shut down UCF. Yeah. Can what now? Maine, sure. I hope they don't shut it down. I'm going to have trouble making my payments. Oh, good. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show this data for, and I'll make sure that sum didn't affect it. Now, I'm going to show you a trick that we use in C and C++ and most other languages. So do you see how many times I'm putting 4 down there? Do you see how many times I use the number 4? And what if I wanted to change it to 6? I'd have to go to all those places, right? Wouldn't I have to go to all those places and change it, right? So there's a way to do things in C and C++ and most other languages, and I usually put at the top. These things are called defines. Array elements. So now I've got this thing I defined called num array elements, and I define it as 4. Okay? Okay? So it doesn't really mean anything except for now I can copy and paste and use it down below. So here, let me take that. Now where I give that a size, that's going to be 4. This will be 4 here. So anywhere that I had hard-coded 4, I can now use this thing so I kind of know what it means. Okay? It's just a way we do it in C and C++ and other languages so we can easily make changes. Yeah?
Is there also like a tie bug?
Hold on just a second.
Is there a tie bug function?
There is, it's actually not even a function, it's a compiler operator. I'll definitely be showing you that too, yeah. Yeah, yes sir. Yep. Okay, so that's actually a better pattern to what we're doing. Now I'm going to run this, and notice 13, let's see, 33, 16, 56, 99. The data did not change, did it? Did the data change in the array? You didn't expect it to, did you? What is he talking about? So let's go ahead now and write another function called void add So what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to add 1 to every element of the array, right? Isn't that what I'm trying to do? So the 33 will become 34, the 16 will become 17, 56 will become 57, 99 will become 100. Isn't that what I'm trying to do? You guys got it? Okay. So HEC 125 has no air conditioning. So sometimes, like by quarter of 4, I'm losing you guys. So that's when I really started talking fast to finish up because I think they were falling asleep. But you guys have air conditioning, so I should be losing you. Yes, sir. Oh, missing a comma, huh? Those commas, pesky commas. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do, I'm going to say add 1. Add 1, data. That still means 4. Now let's show the array data. Who thinks that the array will now have different values, or who thinks that the array will have the same old values? Shall we take a vote? Who thinks same values? Who thinks different values? Okay, so we have 5 value parameters, but data is not one of them. Arrays are not by value, they're by reference. Okay? And it's no longer true that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's now true that for a by reference, whatever happens in the function sticks. You guys with me? So that's what I'm trying to illustrate to you, that when you pass an array, it's by reference and it's not by value. It's actually not a copy. It's the actual object. So let's go through and kind of talk about this now. I know I've been doing a lot of coding and typing, so now I'm going to take some time out. I'm going to explain this entire piece of work, so to speak. All right, what does that mean? It's a define for my convenience. So if I want to change it from 4 to 6, all I got to do is change it there. Right? Everywhere else I'm using that 4. It'll change to 6 if I change it there, right? All those 4s I was putting in before. You guys with me? That's why we use define. What does that calc do? Just multiplies a by 2 and b plus adds 2,000. Just me 2. All right. But what was the purpose of that? Is because those are by value parameters. And what happens to by value parameters inside of a function stays in a function, because by value is a copy. Okay? By value parameters are copies. They're not the actual values. Find sum. I just took my data array and found the sum. Notice that when we pass it as the parameters, notice there's no size to this. Okay, there's no size to this, and when we give it a length here, that's the way you're really supposed to do it. All we did was we went through and we summed up the data, we printed out what the sum was. Here we showed the array data just so that I could prove to you that the array data actually changed. And here I added 1 to everything in the array. Okay. So now ask questions. Yes. Try what now? Right. So what I did, the reason I have it multiple times. So here I show you that's the original data, right? And I call this find sum. And here I just wanted to show you that the find sum function did not do anything to change it, right? But then when we called that add 1 function, we added 1 to every element in the array. And I called that show array data again, just to show you that it was different. And that's why I call it 3 different times, just to show you how the code in this works. Anytime. So I'm going to answer his question like this. If I did this again, it adds 1, and then it adds 1 again. So every time you call that add 1, it adds 1, okay? And that's because I'm not actually calling it with copy, I'm calling it with the real thing. The real McCoy, it's the actual array. And this is the magic of arrays, okay? Other questions? Yes, sir.
What's the advantage of using a define as opposed to a multivariate?
So you actually, okay, so you can't use a global variable inside of an array. Like you see how I have int data num array elements. In the C language, you can't put a global array, a global variable there. However, for any other reason, there is no other reason, except that a global variable takes up memory and a define doesn't take up any memory. So those are yes. Yes. Right, correct. So that's why we use the define. Now, if you're not worried about the array size, you can use a global variable or a constant or anything like that. So those are fine. Okay. Do you have questions about your homework? Let me pull it up real quick. You see, last Thursday I was so kind to you, I gave you half the problem. So I really do understand that this is a fairly difficult class. And I'm going to try right now. Wait. You don't want homework? Okay, I'll go there right now. But then I wanted to try to give you some hints in your homework, but I'll do apt image real quick. Okay, refresh. Okay, is there a way to ask the user to press int integer to continue? Yes, get char. Just experiment with get char. That should do it for you. PSA, Tim is on Discord and often answers questions related to homework on weekends. He's the real MVP. Take advantage of that. Okay, that's actually good advice. Is there a way to make the program return words instead of just numbers? Yes. You can actually return an entire string or word. I'm not going to get to that till next week, though. So if you guys would be patient with me on that, the answer is yes, of course. What is the get choice function for the homework? I did not explain that so many times. If both of your, come see me after class. I want to see your face. If both of your games worked and only the scoring was faulty, how many points should you get off? What was the rubric on that, Tim, on the scoring? 6 points. Okay. Can we go over the homework? I was just. Will you drop the grade and just pass it? No. So an array basically stores however many spaces the user wants until those. Yes. So for each array element, you put one value in there. And this is actually something that will come up over and over again in this class and in all other programming classes. For the homework, I use void functions for all the games. The program work nonetheless. Will I get points taken off for using void functions? It really depends on what you're trying to do with them. So I would say, in general, there's no penalty for using void functions unless you need to do some sort of return. Brief, that was really vague, I know. Can you briefly talk about the difference in need between C-type and string.h? So for C-type, you need to include C-type for 2 upper and 2 lower. You need to include string.h for all string functions, which we really don't start until, I might actually start them this Thursday. Are strings part of your homework? Okay, I'll definitely start them on Thursday. Can you explain why a by-val thing? Okay, so if I pass a 5 to a function, I'm only passing a copy of that 5, okay? It's called a by-value parameter. Anything that happens in that function to that by-value parameter is not reflected where it gets called, okay? So that's the deal there.
You said it's just for integers?
No, doubles. So it actually, an integer can be passed by reference in some cases. But in general, the way we've been doing it, ints, floats, doubles, longs, shorts, a lot of things can be passed by value. Yeah, a lot of things. Why was I equal to 0 in the second iteration of the loop in the problem you just did? Did I answer that? Good. See how fast I am sometimes? What does it mean sum plus equals data? This was data sub I. Let me just show you. What happens is, to get the sum, I'm saying sum, I'm adding whatever is in that's data sub I. Whatever's in data sub I, sub 0, sub 1, sub 2, sub 3, whatever's in those, each time I go through I add it. Okay? Can we make our own function file and header files, carry them between assignments? Sure. How do you have a start time and an end time in a code that requires input that times the user? I did show you that on Thursday. Does the define have to be in all caps? No. The define does not have to be in all caps. It's just traditional that it is. Okay, so let me pull up your homework. I want to hopefully get you started on this and explain what I can in the little time I have left. And I'll make sure on Thursday we talk about strings. Oops. Oh, I already logged in, didn't I? This is your grade class. Oh, Simons, come on. Is it arrays and strings? Number 6, that's already closed them. Okay. Ask for numbers. Declare an integer array locally, which we've already done with size of 200. Create a program that asks the user how many numbers they have. Use your getChoice function from before. Make sure it does not exceed 200. So you're just going to use getChoice with the 200 max, okay? You guys know how to do that? Just use getChoice with a max of 200, okay? Use a for loop and ask the user to enter each value that must be stored in the array. Use a second loop to display each number and also determine the average number of all values. I've done that today. I think after the for loop, display the average of numbers, okay? Questions on this? Yes? Yeah, 2 loops in your main, yes. Any other questions? Yes?
So would you call getChoice in your main, and then it'll like
Yeah, I will.
it'll fill out your array for you? Is that what you're saying?
No, you call getChoice just so you know how many numbers. Like how many numbers you have, like, or grades or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so
How many numbers to fill the array with?
yeah, I would say 3 because I'm lazy, but you could up to 200. You could enter in. Okay, good. Random numbers. Declare an integer array locally with size 200. This is the same thing. So once you get a pass problem, you should be able to get that. Use a loop to assign random numbers from 1 to 10,000. Now, remember, so that'll be rand mod 10,000 plus 1, right? Right? So how many times do you have to use srand in a program? Once, right? At the very beginning? That's it. Just use it once. Okay. Use the second loop to display each number and determine the average of all values. You know how to do this. Come on. After the for loop, okay. Declare. Okay, I'm going to show you this on Thursday because that's strings and I haven't taught you that. So I promise, my name, I'll reserve 15 minutes at the end of class on Thursday to do that with you. Is that fair enough? Now ask me any more questions you have. Yes?
Back when we were writing the void functions that we just were, when you put in data, you didn't have to specify anything in the brackets.
Okay, so the function parameter, the function itself doesn't have a size. Okay? That's just the way it works in the language. All right, have a great evening. We'll see you on Thursday. Be safe.